Hey everyone, Tom here, coming back to you 2025. We had a great 2024, a ton of great episodes, ton of great guests, and we're going full steam ahead into 2025. I think it's going to be an exciting year for tech. And with that in mind, for this episode, I do my prediction episodes. The first one I'm doing, but maybe it'll become a tradition where I look at the year ahead and I try and pick out three big trends and predictions related to it. And so really what I talk about is a little bit of consolidation and how people are thinking about software in the mortgage industry. I also talk about different types of lending and different kind of trends that I'm seeing of where I'm seeing brokers going and how the software industry might follow them. And then finally, like a lot of these episodes that I've had over the past year, I spent a good amount of time talking about AI, the implications going forward, and some interesting trends that I'm seeing and some cool bets I think people can make going forward. Fun episode. If you do have predictions yourself, want to hear them, of course. We'll see you on the other side. Truth maybe is that every time you put a document in an email, that is the most vulnerable place. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Mortgage Tech Talks. Let's get right into it. This is my 2025 tech predictions episode. I think it's going to be a wild year. So let's get right into it. So prediction number one here. So the prediction relates to mortgage tech, and it's a trend that we've kind of seen evolve over the past, I'd say, 5 to 10 years. And that's the trend of really consolidation versus many tools for a mortgage broker. So just to, I guess, provide a little bit of context background, of course, call it 10 years ago, really the main mortgage tech tool out there was Filogix Expert. That was the main one that most people used. And there wasn't too many other tools being used. Yeah, some top brokers used certain, I guess, maybe productivity tools, but there wasn't this huge proliferation because bottom line was there was kind of one system and it was a pretty closed system. So it was hard to kind of, I guess, interweave different tools into your mortgage process other than really email, something like that. And really what happened about 5 years ago is that these platforms started to open up really at the same time as other platforms coming on the scene, things like Velocity, Finmo, Scarlet, Boss, all these different platforms started coming online, competing with Filogix. And probably because of this competition, they realized that they could compete on their openness, on an open API. And so openness came. Blue Mortgage, my company, of course, was able to kind of ride that wave and integrate with these platforms. And a lot of other companies did too. So you had this kind of big proliferation, a ton of different tools coming online. And there was excitement about tech. I think that was the other thing that was happening is that, hey, it wasn't this stale system again. It was a renewed, I guess, vigor, if you will, in Canadian mortgage tech space. And there's a lot of different tools coming to market, people getting excited about it. So all really good things. But fast forward today, so that pendulum swung pretty hard this way. And actually, do you know what? I think my bold prediction for 2025 is that pendulum is starting to come back. And two big reasons why. So the first one I would say is maybe just a little bit of exhaustion, right? I think over these past, call it 5 years, brokers have been pitched every single tool under the sun. And I think people are getting exhausted of those pitches, these promises that maybe people don't live up to. I don't know. Just simply having way more logins of all these different portals they have to log into. I think people are getting a little bit exhausted of that and craving a little bit of simplicity. I don't think we're going to swing all the way back to one system to rule them all. I think we will land somewhere in the middle where most brokers are using 2, maybe 3 different one of these tools, but not, 5, 10 that maybe we're kind of seeing today, or at least is being brought to the market today. So I think we're going to see that caused by some of that exhaustion. And then the other reason I think it's going to happen a little bit is I think there's a little bit of, call it uncertainty more than anything, with new regulations coming out. And we've had other episodes about regulations. I won't go on and on about it. But the big thing right now, I think, is that uncertainty. What does this mean? What's this going to do? And there's some security in using, I call it, your brokerage's software tools. So if you go out there and you're trying to do maybe some of these AML type activities by yourself, you're kind of out there alone in the desert. I don't know if that's the right analogy or not, but there's a little bit of security in being with the group, and, the software provides that security or that group type thinking. And so I think people will find some security in going back to their brokerage or what the rest of the team is doing. And inevitably that usually is going to mean a little bit of consolidation using, a single system that maybe the brokerage endorses. And so between those two things, both the exhaustion maybe of all these different logins and some of these new regulations, I think the pendulum is going to come back the other way. What's going to cause that? Beats me, honestly. It could be 1,000 different things. Maybe my bold prediction for 2020 call it 9, I don't know, when maybe the pendulum starts to swing back the other way, will be that it won't be brokers who will have to keep track of these things and learn all these new systems. It'll be maybe, I don't know, AI agents. And I have a section on AI later we'll get into, but that's what I could see actually bringing the pendulum back the other way, where, hey, it's not me who has to think of all these things and do all these things. I have an agent that's really good at that specializes in that. And all I have to do is tell it what to do. And it finds the best tool for the job. And whether that's one tool or 1,000 tools doesn't matter so much, because my interface is one thing, it's that agent. So I guess that's a double prediction. 2025, we're going to see a little bit of consolidation. And then, hey, maybe in 2029 or whatever it is, it's going to come back the other way, maybe with some of these AI agents. We'll see. Let's go to prediction number 2. So prediction number 2, I think, something I've been hearing more and more, and I don't know if this is maybe the one I'm least certain of, but I'm going to put it out there anyways, which is more focus on commercial side lending. I think that for a lot of residential brokers, they're going to start looking at the commercial side, especially, there's a great CMHC, the MLI Select program, that there's a ton of financing going out for. And I'm seeing a lot of the top brokers that I follow on social media and things like that starting to look at this type of program. And I think there's a lot of reasons. I don't know the program too much specifically, but I think there's a lot of reasons for that. And at the end of the day, too, I think that it aligns with a lot of the rhetoric we're hearing out of our provincial and federal and even municipal governments of saying, hey, we need more affordable housing. Sure. And usually what that looks like is multifamily or these purpose-built rentals, and a multifamily building or unit matches that. And so I think that lines up, right? And that, hey, we have a very attractive financing program through CMHC, the Crown Corporation, and that matches what the government's saying. So that kind of lines up. And I think more and more brokers are going to realize that and start finding their way over into that. So without going much further down that kind of whole explanation, I do think from a software side, I think it actually presents a really interesting opportunity. I'll share my screen here. So I just Googled basically commercial mortgage software in Canada. And when it pulls up here, the first 3 are kind of these consolidation type, Get App, Capterra, that just kind of bring everything together. I don't pay much mind to those. Same as Software World. And the first 2 here, one is CMLS. Is talking about their commercial software. And then the other one is Intellify. If you remember from earlier episodes, first of all, they just merged with Nesto, or Nesto just bought them actually. But also CMLS and Intellify, they're the same company. They're under the same umbrella. So really, it seems just from a quick Google search, it's only one real prominent solution, and I'm not an expert on it. I don't know it. If I click into it here, let's just see this one that Intellify, it's called Orbit Technology Solution. Modernize your lending and broaden your data partner ecosystem with an end-to-end technology solution. It's seamless and integrated end-to-end commercial lending experience. So I don't even know if this is a broker product. It might be for lenders, because this is under Intellify, which is under the CMLS umbrella. So I think, with this trend going on with more and more residential brokers maybe finding the way into commercial, I think this presents a unique commercial opportunity. I think until now, just to give my experience, some brokers come to us who do commercial and say, hey, can you help us and maybe tweak your CRM to match ours? And we've never said, hey, there's not a critical mass for us to do that in Canada. Critical mass being brokers who do commercial deals. But, the straw that breaks the camel back, maybe we're getting close to that, where we have enough commercial brokers who are doing this type of work that it makes sense, financial sense, for people to come into the space and make commercial specific software. So I think that's an interesting trend. Is it going to happen in 2025, maybe 2026? I don't know. But I think we're seeing more and more brokers going that way. And where brokers go, usually the software follows. So that's my number 2 prediction. Like I said, a little more uncertain, but I'm putting it out there. Okay, last one here, prediction number 3. I promised it earlier, and really no show has been complete this year without a mention for it. So I have to do it and just talk about AI. What does that look like in 2025? I want to kind of take a step back and maybe do a review, look back in 2024. That'll help me look forward into 2025 of what's going on. And what I've noticed is, hey, and I guess it was 2023, November 23, October 2023, ChatGPT came out, right? And that was this big boom. And that was great. I mean, it's a fantastic tool. I use it all the time. I use it for brainstorming more than anything. I think it's a great kind of brainstorm partner. It can also act as a search engine. It does some great things. But really since then, and it's been 15 months, I haven't seen any other really great commercial application. And honestly, if you just dive a little bit deeper into most of these applications, it's just a very thin layer over ChatGPT, right? So I've talked about in previous episodes where even for us, we've embedded AI elements into the CRM, but all it's doing is it's summarizing notes. All it's doing is taking your notes, sending it to ChatGPT and getting the response. But really 90% of that is ChatGPT, and then 10% is, the integrations. And so all new tech really that has come out in the past, call it 15 months, has just been ways to interact with ChatGPT. And, people listening might tell me I'm wrong, but that's just my quick assessment. And there's definitely maybe some, I don't know, fringe elements or fringe products out there that maybe buck that trend, but that's the general trend that I see. And so I just think that's really interesting. So the point is that we kind of have this chat GPT and there's no real commercial applications for it yet other than a small layer. And the reason I think is because it's too general, right? But it's not so smart just yet. So it's in this weird place. So where does it go? I think it kind of splits. It can go one of two places. So the two problems being it's too general but not smart enough to really do things, deep things like a human could. And so, the first thing you do is you go down, the AGI route, the artificial general intelligence, getting it close to a human. And, I think a lot of people are pursuing that with a lot of vigor, spending a lot of money on it. You got XAI, you got OpenAI, you got Microsoft, Google, all these people spending a ton of money on all these GPUs trying to get to a much smarter, much more sophisticated model version of ChatGPT. And I think that's a great route to go. I think that's a long road to go, but it's a good road to go. But that's one way, I think, where this chat GPT kind of diverges. One way is just, okay, let's get it smarter and smarter and smarter and smarter until it's much closer to a human level intelligence. So, okay, hopefully we'll get there. And that's an interesting path to see. But I think the other way is just starting to get hyper specific with these models and really these tools that you have. And so instead of just like a general chat GPT that answers some questions, starting to get more and more specific. And actually my bold prediction is that it's not just enough to say, hey, I'm going to have a train a model like ChatGPT, but for mortgage agents, I don't think that's actually going to be enough. It's still too general. I think it has to be, a ChatGPT, a model that is specific to me specifically. It's like Tom's model that he uses, and it looks at all of Tom's emails, all of Tom's notes, the way he talks, the way he does all the things that he does with his clients, with his colleagues, with his friends, it doesn't matter, and makes a Tom agent, right? And we talked about these agents a little bit earlier. So I think the other way we go is just getting hyper specific, and it's not even just industry specific. I think it's almost like person by person specific. And the way I think about it is, AI is going to turn into a VA, a virtual assistant, let's call it, virtual in a very real sense. Think about a VA. You don't just get, this is kind of weird to think about a person who's a cookie cutter, a VA for mortgage. That still, wouldn't work. What you need is a VA who's specific to your business, who knows how your business works. And I think that's the way these AI agents are going. And so with that in mind, where does that leave the opportunity in terms of technology? Well, I don't think it's going to be, this traditional SaaS model where someone makes one thing and can distribute it to 1,000 people and everyone can use these bots. Because again, each bot's got to be unique to the person. That's my bold prediction. And so our traditional model of how we think about software and how it's built and distributed, I think that's not going to actually work in this kind of new paradigm. I think instead where the opportunity exists is, I think, two things. One would be, again, in the hardware. We're seeing a lot of opportunity in hardware. And actually, just as an interesting side note, NVIDIA came out, I think, just this week with a $250 GPU. So a super cheap thing. And for anybody who's curious, a GPU is really the tool, or I guess the hardware that trains these models. And so it's a super, super cheap piece of hardware that really anybody can pick up and use to train a model. So again, maybe NVIDIA is seeing similar type trends, I don't know, but they've obviously invested a lot of time and focused on this very, small, bite-sized piece of hardware that can train these probably similarly bite-sized models, but hyper-specific. So that's just a quick side note, but kind of aligns with that trend. So again, it's in the hardware, that opportunity, or the other thing is maybe it's not software, but maybe it's services that allow you to take a model and train it to be your specific person. So I think the opportunity exists in products or services that help you train your AI model or AI agent, let's call it. So it's not the AI agent itself. Again, they all have to be very specific, but any type of service provider or product that helps you train your AI agent. I think that's where an interesting opportunity lies. So there you have it, folks. I mean, really kind of went down the gambit. We talked about consolidation in the mortgage tech industry, talked about commercial lending and how that I think is going to be a growing trend and software will follow. And then I went down a little bit of the nerdy, I guess, rabbit hole of AI and talking about, hey, it's either AGI, but that's not us. That's going to be Google and all these big companies. But I think where the opportunity exists for us is finding these tools that are going to allow you to train an AI agent to become your own personal virtual assistant in the most real sense. So that's my bold prediction for 2025. Maybe we'll do a recap at the end of the year and see how many I got right, see how many I got wrong. But I think those are the trends I'm seeing right now. And yeah, we'll see. If you have any other trends or predictions, feel free to leave them in the comments section below, and we'll see you next week.